Hello everybody, welcome to another video. We're gonna talk old world killing Age of Sigmar and the illustrious glory days of Warhammer Fantasy Battle and putting the little game back in its box because the old world is here. Yes, complete clickbait. Ha ha ha, I got you. You clicked on the video because you thought I was going to rant and rave about how the old world is going to kill Age of Sigmar. And that is not what this video is about. It really isn't. And I'm actually really annoyed and sick to death of seeing this narrative being pushed by content creators that have absolute no idea what they're talking about, because we really don't know what's going to happen in regards to the old world and Age of Sigmar. But we can guess and we can speculate and we can hypothesize and rub our crystal balls and see what's going to happen. So yeah, if you like my content, please subscribe, check out my members area, ring the bell, like this video, drop a comment, you know the score, and let's get into the video. So, Warhammer killing Age of Sigmar. It's not going to happen. It's really not. It's not going to do anything of the like. And the main reason why is because the old world is made by the Specialist Design Studio and Age of Sigmar is made by the main studio. That reason alone means that it's not going to happen. The reason why is because the main studio are going to have far more resources and time allocated to it than what the Specialist Design Studio has to do. You've got to remember that the Specialist Design Studio have to do the Horus Heresy, Lord of the Rings, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, Warcry, Underworld, and the new Epic game. So everything that is not 40k and Age of Sigmar essentially is controlled and done by the Specialist Design team. And that is a far smaller team than what the main studio team is. So that alone means that Age of Sigmar is completely and utterly safe and is never going to get squatted and is never going to be eclipsed by Warhammer the Old World because, well, that's just a simple fact. Now, what will happen to the old world? Well, I imagine that the old world will carve out its own little player base, its own little community, and its own little niche of the Warhammer hobby as a whole. And we will get veteran players, new players, and players like myself who will jump across multiple system games playing it. And it will be a vibrant, active, well-supported game in the coming future. Why do I say this? Well, because Games Workshop like making money. Simple. They like making money. They will want to sell you old world stuff. They will want to sell you Age of Sigmar stuff. And they definitely love selling you Warhammer 40k stuff. So, there's not going to be this crazy element where we see Age of Sigmar get done with what happened with Fantasy Battle. That I can never understand how it's going to be. And I'm just going to address this now. But large content creators like Pardo from SN Battle Reports, who come out with statements like Warhammer Fantasy Battle will outsell Age of Sigmar, and Age of Sigmar is only selling because of the quality of the miniatures, and that the game is pretty naff, and out of all of my thousands of online friends who play with the hobby, only 1% of them will ever talk about Age of Sigmar, and that in 5 years' time, Age of Sigmar will be a specialist game. Here's some news for you, Pardo. What crock of crap are you talking? The reason why the vast majority of your online friends are not Age of Sigmar players is because you, as a content creator who have become linked with these people online, do not make Age of Sigmar content. So therefore, why would the Age of Sigmar community come anywhere near you? I like Warhammer 40k and I like the Horus Heresy. Hence the reason why I watch your content. Because that's the content you make. I don't come to your channel and come to speak to you as an individual about Age of Sigmar because you don't play Age of Sigmar. But I would go and speak to my friends who do play Age of Sigmar about Age of Sigmar, because we share a same thing. So this whole argument of my friends don't talk about Age of Sigmar, therefore Age of Sigmar is not doing very well, is complete crap. As for Age of Sigmar being a specialist game within 5 years, what stuff are you smoking? Age of Sigmar is a far better system than Warhammer 40k. Second edition was a far better system than 8th and 9th edition. 3rd edition has turned out to be a far better system than 9th and 10th edition. 10th edition come out the gates with a massive amount of problems. Here's looking at you, Eldar. Has Age of Sigmar had any of those problems? No. Has it had any of these issues where things need to be massively FAQ'd and addressed, and apology videos made by Games Workshop regarding Age of Sigmar? No. So, is Age of Sigmar a pretty balanced, well done game? Yes. So, you're talking bull. The Old World is a good system. From what I've seen of it on battle reports and from what I've read online, it's a good quality system, and it's going back to older editions when the game was very good. Kind of getting the vibe of 6th edition from it, which is really good because that was one of my favourite editions when I played Fantasy. But Fantasy Battle will stand on its own 2 feet. It won't eclipse Age of Sigmar, it certainly won't eclipse 40k, and it may get to the level of popularity of the Horus Heresy. Now, I know some content creators, like Pardo, will criticise Games Workshop when it comes to the Horus Heresy, but I generally feel that this is a sort of weird viewpoint of entitlement by a lot of people when it comes to content creation and their view on Games Workshop. We just have to look at Discourse Miniatures of her really slanted view on anything that Games Workshop does. This doesn't mean that because we've got a vocal minority arguing and fighting over the legacy factions, that Games Workshop have somehow done this deliberately. They haven't. Well, they have, but not in a malicious way. The factions that have been moved into the legacy aren't there because of some weird conspiracy about Age of Sigmar. It's there because those factions don't fit the narrative of what is currently being explored with the Old World. The specialist design team are a smaller team. There is no way they were ever going to be able to bring over 17 factions into the Old World and produce them and put them into a gaming system and then put them out onto the shelf in a timely manner. They don't have the resources allocated for this, and they certainly don't have the team to be able to work on all of those factions. They've done this in a smart, clever way. They've picked the main players of the timeline and they're building the narrative around that. Does that mean that in the future we are not going to see a Dark Elf army added to the Old World? Of course we are, because Games Workshop wants to make money, and they know fine well that if they put out a launch box at £155 full of Dark Elf models and an arcane journal and then some dice for 26 quid, you lot are going to run off there and buy it, and it's going to sell out within an hour of going on pre-orders. So to turn around and say that this isn't the case is mental. Of course Games Workshop are going to bring in Skaven and Lizardmen and Vampire counts. They just can't do it right now because they have to start small. Then there's the canary in the canary in the cave, the elephant in the room, the other main issue of why Games Workshop are probably doing what they're doing. Warhammer Fantasy Battle failed. It didn't sell. So in its last 12 months, it made less money than what paintbrushes and paints was making for the company. Nobody was interested in buying this game. And there was a whole host of other reasons. Preachy in the painting phase kind of addresses some of them. There were other things like Mantic Games was selling 120 zombies for the price of 30 from Games Workshop. There was other companies coming out with other miniatures. There was people that had long-standing armies that they've had from the 80s. there was a whole myriad of reasons why nobody was buying into 8th edition. Also, the cost of a unit in 8th edition was extortionate. I remember being banned from the Belfast Games Workshop store because I shared their post about the new Witch Elves coming out that weekend for the pre-orders. And I shared it onto my personal page and I said, hey guys, remember to get down to your local store and pre-order those Witch Elves because you're going to need a unit of 30, which at the time was something that you needed to run your army at any form of competitive type of level. 10 was just never good enough. 20 was okay, but 30 was the best. That would have cost you £120. £120 for a unit of 30 Witch Elves. What? That was mental. And then I basically, in my post, also put a link into Mantic Games that was selling a 1500 point Dark Elf army for £99. And I was like, why spend 220 quid on one unit when you can go to Mantic and buy an army for pretty much the same price? This was one of the main reasons why Fantasy failed. And Games Workshop have kind of tried to address that. I know people have complained about the pricing, £175 for the Tomb King's box is a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. Yes, yes. And it's for old models that were made in 1993. But you've got to also remember that in 1993, and especially in 2003, half of that box was being sold for £50. So all of the main core elements of that box was being sold for £100 over 2 battalion boxes. They're selling that for £175. They haven't adjusted their prices for inflation. It's not an actual bad price when you look at what you get in that box. And to be fair, they're a lot cheaper than I expected. I know some of you are straight away going to call me a Games Workshop shill. Yes, I am. And one day my corporate overlords will see how my dingleberry licking is going to pay off. And they're going to send me boxes and boxes of free stuff. And I can then take selfies on Instagram, holding it up going, thank you, Games Workshop. But until that day, you're just going to have to put up with me being a shill. And in fact, in one of my other videos, I was called the Games Workshop hater. So yay. Look, I don't care about the politics. I'm not interested in YouTube drama. I'm not interested in pushing narratives of games are going to be killed because of another game coming out. I was sad when Warhammer Fantasy Battle was ended. I enjoyed playing Warhammer Fantasy Battle. I missed Warhammer Fantasy Battle, but I also enjoyed playing Age of Sigmar. I have fond memories of that first year of Age of Sigmar when it was mentally crazy. It had no points, no army construction. You could pretty much do whatever you wanted. And it was full of really crazy, wacky rules. And I had a lot of fun. And I have a lot of fond memories of myself and my good friend Peter, who pretty much played some really funny, stupid games. And it just turned into a power struggle of who could bring out the most stupidest things. He brought in a Glockin, I brought a Celestial Prime. He brought a load of demons, I brought a load of Stormcast Eternals. And it was super, super fun. I was a little bit hesitant when the General's Handbook came out, but I'm kind of glad it did, because we got the game we have today because of that General's Handbook. So, look, let's just ignore crap of Age of Sigmar is going to get killed from, because it's not. The reality is that both games will do what both games have been doing, and they will both be successful in their own right. Games Workshop are not going to take the chance of bringing back the old world unless they have a plan. Did they mess up the pre-orders? Undoubtedly. I don't think they realised or understood the actual level of hype for this game has. And if anything, this weekend has shown them that there is a demand for this product, which is a good thing for Warhammer Fantasy Battle. This has absolutely no impact on Age of Sigmar, and if anything, Age of Sigmar players should be happy the old world is here, because it means factions that are not getting any love or haven't had any love are probably now going to get love. Here's looking at you, Skaven. That refresh is coming, baby. Just hold on, 6 months to go. It's going to happen. And a lot of other factions are probably going to get the same, which also means that the old world is probably going to get some really cool stuff as well in the future. We're probably going to see at some point in the future, maybe in its second edition of its game, of its life, new undead Tomb King skeleton models. Maybe, but we will see. Only time will tell. And until Games Workshop give us a roadmap, which I really hope they do soon, it would be really cool to see how their timeline of bringing and putting this game out. Because there's a lot of hype for this, and they really should jump on that momentum. But I just wanted to make this rant video because there's a lot of things that have been said this weekend that have really gripped me and really annoyed me. And I'm not the kind of... I hope at least I'm not the kind of content creator that will come out with these outlandish statements like, Age of Sigmar's doomed, Warhammer Fantasy Battle's going to kill it. It's not. It will end up being a symbiotic, I think that's the word, relationship, just like 40k has with the Horus Heresy. As for the whole tournament thing, look, there's no point in getting angry over that, because unless you're somebody that lives in Nottingham or lives near Nottingham and all you ever do is go to gaming events at Warhammer World and that is your tournament, then yeah, it sucks for you because your army's not going to be welcome there. But on the flip side, if you don't live anywhere near Nottingham and you don't go to Warhammer tournaments at Warhammer World, then that has absolutely no effect. You should probably know who your local TOs are. Your gaming community for Warhammer the Old World will probably have somebody thinking about running tournaments already. Speak to them and say to them, are you going to allow the legacy armies? And in most cases, I would imagine that they will say yes. If they don't, plead your case. And then if not, just say I'm not going to that event publicly because you're not allowing the legacy factions. I think the vast majority of the player base would say, why not just let them in? Who cares? It's a game at the end of the day, so just have some fun. But enough of this. If you like my content, please subscribe. Check out my members area. And yeah, and I'll see you in the next video, people. I just had to make this one a little bit ranty rant, and I'll catch you later.